Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. I hope that everybody is having an awesome start to their weekend. For some of us, we're still in grind mode. We have some things going on. I know that Baby has another open house going on starting at noon today. For those of you in the Houston area, stop by and pay her a visit. Go in. You'll see the actual address on my page, on her page, but definitely stop by. It's a beautiful home in a gated community on the northeast side of town. Definitely stop in and pay her a visit. Good morning, Kim. And what else do we have going on today? I have a number of different sessions going on with clients today. So both she and I are going to be busy, but if you're in the Houston area, stop by. I'm going to be posting up until probably halfway into her open house. You know, I'll be posting about what's going on over there, sharing her videos or whatever she's doing while she's there. But definitely stop in, pay her a visit, tell her hello, whatever. She's going to be there from 12 to 4. Wish I would have posted it, but I had so much in the description box. I didn't want to make it any more convoluted than it already was. But I am definitely going to be sharing what she's doing. If you're in the Houston area, definitely swing over there and say hello and check out the home. The home is gorgeous. Okay, that's that. Now, if you haven't gotten Critical Mass, which is my 20th book, unbelievable. 400 pages of power, 400 pages of step-by-step guidance in literally shifting the direction of your life and changing your life. We're going to talk about some of that today as well on this particular segment this morning. But definitely, if you haven't got it, the link is in there. Scroll down a little bit and it's there. Get it. And we're excited. We finally got everything pretty much lined up for the release of the 21st book, I Am, which is the second in the series behind Critical Mass in the personal development series. So we're excited about that as well. I did put the link in there because we kind of want to make sure we're nailed in this time, and we're definitely at the release. And then we're going to start doing a pre-release promotion for maybe a week. Then we're going to be back on ordering some things. So that is that. All right, one more thing. Well, two more things. There's a masterclass that I'm going to be teaching. Well, I've already started a masterclass that I'm teaching where people who want to start digital business, in other words, online businesses, it doesn't matter what you're doing, selling services, selling products, promoting someone else's products. If you're looking to start a digital business, trying to get yourself off the ground, or just get in the game, this doesn't have to be your dream business. This doesn't have to be your number one money maker. Thing is to get into it, automate it, and get it to doing something for you that increases your revenue generation without taking much of your time. And I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to take the, wow, it's 2019, man, almost 18 years of experience I've had online from a pup getting taken by every little push button, one click, scam that was out there trying to learn the business, to really sitting down, finding people who were really actually being successful and tapping into them and learning and creating a writing business online, a fitness business online, Odyssey Media Group, which is doing unbelievable things across, I don't know how many things. Odyssey has clients right now in Australia, in Ireland, in London, not to mention the clients we have. We are doing some things, and it all started online with just sitting up saying, man, I bet I can do this, and saying this is going to be the new way to do business. This is going to create global expansion, import export business. I mean, it's so much out there. But whatever your thing is, if you want to do it, the email is in there. Email me directly, because each course is individually administered, meaning it's customized to you. And when I'm dealing with you, I'm only dealing with you, and we're going to get it done. So email me. The email address is in there. And if you are still down for a one-on-one 30-minute breakthrough session, sign up for that. That's in there as well. Now, let's talk. I didn't get to do quantum reality Friday yesterday. So I decided to talk about success principles, but I decided to integrate it into the world of quanta, into the quantum reality, into quantum ideas and philosophies and quantum laws. Sorry about that. Okay. Now, so we're going to talk right now about quanta. We're going to talk about quanta, and I'm going to try to make it make sense to you in the world you reside in and how you think and how you look and how you've grown up. We're going to merge and talk about what this means in the world of faith and the world of change and transformation and how that works. The first thing you need to know about these 7 laws is that 3 of them, I'm sorry, I'm getting some disturbing family news that I'm gonna have to deal with when I get off of here. So I didn't want to turn my daughter off, but I needed to get that. But look, the first 3 laws are what we call immutable. Immutable laws are laws that are absolute in nature. I'm gonna turn this off. Absolute in nature, and they cannot be changed. They can be understood and worked with versus working against, but they are what they are. Then the last 4 are what we call mutable laws, meaning that they can be transcended, that you can literally rise to meet them and use them to your benefit. And we're going to talk about how all these work, and then we're going to talk about a bonus thing that everybody's heard of, but very few people understand. And we're going to talk about how it fit in this world. The first law is the law of mentalism. The first law of is the law of mentalism. It's absolute, it's immutable, it is simply there. And basically, and I'm oversimplifying it for you, and we're going to get into it and talk about it in the coming weeks, of the power of mentalism. But mentalism simply says that everything is driven by consciousness, that there's awareness. For those who have studied it and believe it, we call it the mind of God, that there's a universal consciousness that is aware of everything. It is the infinite intelligence that created the universe. It is the mind of God. It is there. And then we understand that it's not separate from us, that we are a part of it, that everything that we face in life, there's an answer to, and the mind of God has the answer. I'm using terminology that you understand so that you can kind of make your connections with your faith. I'm not telling you what your faith should be. I'm telling you that if you have a faith, it should be working for you. And so what you have to understand is, I see so many people talking about their relationship with God, but I see them fretting. I see them stressing. I see them going through so much disappointment, pain, and living defeated lives. And how can you be connected to an infinite intelligence that knows everything, means it has the answer to any problem you have, and yet you're defeated? It's because you haven't trusted the mind of God. You haven't truly merged yourself in the mind, and you haven't noticed the connectivity between your consciousness and the consciousness of God, which is simply an extension of, and when you merge with it, that things. But everything is created by your thinking. Your thinking actually has physicality. Your consciousness has physicality. This has been proven scientifically. What do I mean by physicality? It means that when you think a thought, it isn't some abstract idea just floating around. It literally carries energy. And the amount of energy it carries is based on the thought itself and how it impacts you. If you have a negative thought, it comes with a very low frequency, low vibration, which you're going to learn a little bit more about as we move down this list. It comes with a very low vibration, and it can only produce certain things within its confines. And the reason we say that when you have a low vibration, you can only get low things is because we have learned that energy resonates with energy. Energy attracts like energy. In other words, so if you're down, you will find other people down. If you are a complainer, you will find a bunch of whining and complaining people around you. Y'all have a real good pity party and talking about how awful everything is, how horrible whoever it is, whatever. And you'll find that you'll never rise because you've immersed yourself in your situation and you've allowed your situation to create a mindset. That's why you speak things that are not instead of speaking things that are. Why? Because things that are change, because the world is in constant movement. Nothing is sitting still. It's all constantly moving, and nothing is going to stay the same. I don't care how well you plan. I don't care how much you practice. I don't care what happens. Something bad is eventually going to happen. And if you identify with it, you move from experiencing pain to entering into suffering. Let me say that again. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is a choice. Pain is inevitable. Pain is going to happen. It's simply a part of life. Suffering happens when you identify with the thing that caused your pain so much that it becomes a part of your definition of who you are. Now you're living constantly in that same cycle and you're suffering. But it's all based on thought processes. And I can go on mentalism for about 5 days. But that's it. Mentalism is the understanding that everything originates from the consciousness of God, and you create and originate things in your reality from your consciousness. So what you're thinking, and that's where as a man thinks, so is he, comes from. James Allen simplified it so much in his book. I think he wrote it in 1906, 1903, something like that. But James Allen wrote a book, As a Man Thinketh, and he explains it in very simple terminology, but he's explaining that you're literally creating this cascading effect with the way you think. If you're thinking about the problem, I say this all the time, whatever you focus on, you feel. If I'm focusing on the problem becomes enormous and I feel it. And once I feel it, it starts to create a chemistry, a chemical reaction in the body. And that creates a feeling, literally physically in my body. My thoughts literally impact my physicality. And so now I feel it. And if I allow myself to stay there in that negative situation, and it works in the positive as well, but we're talking about negative right now. And if I stay in that negative situation for any amount of time consistently, for anywhere from 21 to 31 days, if I stay in this down state, my body will literally get used to that chemistry and become addicted to it. So then anytime I try to lift myself out of it, it won't feel good. It'll feel bad. I'm addicted to being depressed. I'm addicted to being angry. I'm addicted to being jealous. I'm addicted to the negative feeling that I've got from the negative energy that thought created because I stayed there too long. I identified with the moment and I didn't shake it. I didn't overcome it. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's going to have moments. I have them. Now I have a 90-second rule. It's real simple. If something really heavy, like the news I just got from my daughter, for everybody, she's fine. But there's somebody in her mom's side of the family is going through something. And so I'm going to help her deal with that. But when I get that news, okay, what are you going to do? You're going to process it. There's certain things that are going to hit you hard. You know, when I found out that my father in 1992, passed away, and the moment I found out he was sick, terminally ill, and those things hit you. But then what are you going to do with it? You process it. Here's the thing. I give myself 90 seconds. So most of the time I get it. Sometimes it goes a little beyond 90 seconds, but the 90-second rule is sitting up giving me a standard on which I'm going to operate. In other words, I can't allow things to get beyond me to the point to where my situations are not controlling my thinking, because my thinking has physicality. My thinking is going to determine my blood pressure. My thinking is going to determine how, my heart rate. My thinking is going to determine body processes, how tight my capillaries get, which increases blood pressure, and so many other things. It could cause damage to the kidneys. Your thinking and how you perceive things. So in this 90-second window, I give myself 90 seconds. I can cuss, I can throw a fit, I can blame, I can do whatever. But after 90 seconds, I have to stop and I have to think. Is what I'm doing and complaining and whining and throwing tantrums changing my situation? No. Can my situation change? Absolutely. What do I need to do? I need to tap into the mind of God. Most of the stuff that is going to take you to the next level are going to be things you don't understand, meaning you're going to have to trust your relationship with God. It is that simple. When you start trying to figure it out on your own, there comes that verse that Christians definitely know. Lean not into your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will what? Direct your path. And that goes for anybody. If you're not a Christian, whatever your faith, there's something that ascends and transcends your thinking and your reason. If everything falls within your reason, you're going to be stuck in a place where most people are, because most people reasoning comes from other people in their social group. What you think about something came from somebody or from experiences. If you want to transcend it, you can't do it with thinking. I think it was Albert Einstein that says you cannot escape your current situation using the same thinking that got you there. So that's what you got to do. That's the law of mentalism. It's sitting up saying everything emerges from our thinking. The Bible says it, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And then the next law is the law of correspondence. What does that mean? It's said most commonly said, as below, as above, so below, as below, so above. And it means that there's harmony and agreement with every part of you, meaning that everything is in correspondence. A lot of people, when you think about your health, you only think about your physical health, but it's a direct correspondence with your mental health and your emotional health. They are in correspondence with one another. If you start to suffer mentally, it will show up physically and emotionally. If you start to suffer emotionally, it will show up physically and mentally. And same thing with physically. Your physical health will eventually impact your psychological and your emotional health. And therefore, you need to find how to line up with the things you want for yourself. If you take care of yourself mentally, if you take care of yourself spiritually, if you take care of yourself emotionally and physically, then you have what is known as holistic health. But that also goes in the things you desire for yourself. You can't desire something in one place and then you're destroying yourself in another. You know, you want all this great over here, but your marriage is in shams. You want great finances, but your marriage is in sham. Well, you build everything on the foundation of your marriage. So it's going to be kind of hard to build something good if you're not taking care of your marriage first. So everything falls in harmony. So that's what the law of correspondence is. And then here's the one that really is huge. The last immutable law is law number 3, the law of vibration. And it simply says everything is energy. Your thoughts are energy, your energy, every cell in your body emits energy. Your thoughts even emit energy. There's nothing you're looking at in the room, no matter how dead it looks. I'm sitting up, I just held up this book. This book is made of atoms. Every atom in this book has a density, has a speed in which neurons are literally traveling right now, and it has energy. It's a very low vibration, nothing you're gonna detect without having some kind of tool to detect. But you're emitting energy that people can feel when you walk in a room. Some of you have experienced it, walked in a room and you were in a pretty decent mood, and a couple of seconds in the room and you start to feel kind of what's going on. Somebody has a negative energy that's pushing your energy. Now, what you have to do is train yourself how to manage your energy to where you walk in the room and people may be down and you lift them. And so that's something that you have to pay attention to, but your thoughts emit energy. And what you expect, meaning the representation of your faith, emits energy. And that energy is only going to attract the type of energy on the level it's on. If your energy is on 250 hertz, all you're going to pull is that. Anything under 500, 400 is neutral. 500 is where you start to rise. 500 is the true nature of love. And then you start to ride with gratitude and on up until you get to enlightenment. Enlightenment is where you learn, where you discover new things, where God reveals things to you. It's the place of revelation for those who are spiritual. It's a place of revelation. That's where you have 700 hertz or higher. That's because you're in tune with the infinite intelligence of the universe, God. And so that's important. But in the law of vibration, you got to understand that everything is moving. Absolutely everything is moving. Nothing is static. And there's a vibrational process going on, and you want to always raise your vibration. The law of polarity. Here's another one where people get in trouble. The law of polarity simply says that everything is dual, and everything has opposites that are opposite in nature, but the same in it's the same in nature, but opposite in degree. For instance, courage and fear. Courage and fear are opposites, but they're on the same pole. What does that mean? If I want to become more courageous, if I want to get rid of fear, I don't focus on fear. I focus on the opposite, courage. So the more I move towards courage, the less fearful I am. And that works with every other thing, love and hatred. You move more towards love, you experience less hatred. Whether that's self-love, whether that's extended love or whatever. The more you move towards something, the more powerful you become in that, and the less you're impacted by the opposite. And so there are all these polarities that people are trying to deal with, and they're focusing on the negative end of the polar scale instead of moving towards the positive end, which will automatically negate the negative end. Again, then there's the law of rhythm. Life comes in patterns, right? Success has patterns. Failure has patterns. Illness has patterns. It's called pathology. Everything has patterns. But not only does everything have patterns, it has rhythm. And the first thing that you have to understand if you want to do something is you have to discover the pattern. If you want to build wealth, there's a pattern. Now, there are variances in the pattern depending on unique and individual attributes and desires and preferences, but there is a pattern to accomplishing it. There is a pattern to a healthy marriage. Now, it can vary based on personal preferences and blah, 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 but there's a pattern. Here's where a lot of people miss when they find the pattern. The pattern also has rhythm. You can see rhythm in everything when it's moving. When you watch the waves come in from the ocean, it has a rhythm and that has an equal corresponding flow. And what you can tell with rhythm, say for instance, you got a pendulum and you hold the pendulum up and you hold it to one end and you release it. That pendulum is going to swing based on the weight, based on everything, and it's going to build forward momentum and it's going to go to the same, almost same identical length as the last time. And then with very subtle notices, it's going to start to change. And when most people don't recognize that they've missed the rhythm or that the rhythm is shifting until they are now developing a reverse motion from the direction they're going in. It's the people who are able to sense when the change first initiates, which isn't moving backwards, it's when it begins to slow. That there's going to be a shift in the pattern, that the rhythm is setting, and you can time rhythm. You can time rhythm like, we are closing out a period of Mercury in retrograde. I know that's scaring some people, but it is a real happening physical, mental and emotional, from everything from communication and so many other things are taking place during this time. And what people, people come to me, man, Mercury's coming. People who are into it and understand it at least a little, stuff gets crazy around the time when Mercury goes into retrograde. Just imagine what people talk about with a full moon. A lot of people are more easy to accept the whole thing with the full moon. They don't understand it, but they know something happens with the full moon. People get crazy, right? Imagine that on steroids. That's kind of what you're getting, and it's real. It's not witchcraft, it's none of that. It's just simply the way God designed the universe to be connected. That's this thing called entanglement. Everything's connected. Everything affects everything. Nothing in this world has a complete disconnect from the world. That's where ecosystems come from, where if you take one bug out of an ecosystem, it disrupts the entire system. Everything has a purpose in the ecosystem, where everything is entangled, everything is connected. It's made that way. When you start interfering with things, you start messing with ecosystems, you get disruptions. And so you have this retrograde thing, but people say, well, man, how are you managing it? I learned the rhythm. Even when it's in retrograde, there's a rhythm. Find the rhythm and ride the rhythm. That, and there's certain reasons, certain people, and this is nothing racist, this is just a truth. There are certain groups of people who are born with more rhythm. And it has to do with the connection of the universe. The most dominant force in the universe outside of consciousness is melanin. And we understand that melanin also produces this natural rhythmic response. So you ride the rhythm. You find out what's going on. A lot of people are struggling and suffering because they're trying to move against the rhythm. They're offbeat. Some are struggling because they haven't even found the pattern. So you can have the pattern. Everybody who grew up in my era, it was the Harlem Shuffle, and then it came, all the other ones that come after it. But that's the pattern. If you know the pattern, to the left, and all this, and you got it, right? But there's also a rhythm, and the rhythm is controlled by the speed of the music. And so you can get, if you're doing elimination part of the dance, you get eliminated when you're not on rhythm. Well, the same thing in life. You get eliminated when you're not on rhythm. You got to start over. You got to get knocked down. It's being in rhythm that matters. Okay, now we're moving from the law of rhythm to one that is definitely in something. I love this one, the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect simply says that for everything that you're experiencing, there's a cause. And the simplicity of this is, if I have something that I don't like happening in my life, find the cause, change the result. If I have something that I'm enjoying, then I find the cause, repeat it, and repeat the result. There are a bunch of people who had one big hit in their lives. And I'm not just talking about musical artists. I'm talking about that was just one moment, you got it, but you never searched the cause. You just enjoyed the experience, and then you tried to relive it. But because you didn't identify the cause, you focused on the symptoms, you kept repeating and nothing happened because you didn't find the cause. See, in metrics, what you're looking for when you're pulling up metrics in business, when you're looking at the metrics of how a product is performing, how a service is performing, how you're performing in your brand awareness or whatever, that's going to be a foundational cause for the response of your target audience. They're responding to something specifically, and when you find out what that is and you look at the response, if the response is a desired response, you simply repeat what you did, wash and repeat. But if it's an undesirable response, you look at it and find out what they responded negatively to, and you get rid of it and you replace it with something else, and you try it again. And sometimes you gotta try this 7, 8, 9, 10, 100 times until you get the right response. But what you do is find the cause. You can't keep looking at the result. Cause and effect. When you understand cause, then you can change the effect. There's nothing in your life you can't change if you understand the cause. See, some of you are living a life that you don't understand the cause. The cause happened way back when you were 5. The cause happened when you were 10, when you were 15, when you were 20, 21. And now you're in your 40s, 50s, maybe even 60s, and you're still struggling with it because you never identified the cause. You never dealt with the cause. The cause has created an effect that is rippling now because the cause has never been neutralized. You got to understand, you can't escape cause and effect. Finally, there's the law of gender. And the law of gender says that every element in the universe has both masculine and feminine energy. In situations, there's going to be gender dominance in which you have one thing that's feminine, one thing that's masculine, and while the masculine thing will have some feminine properties, it will be primarily and dominantly masculine, and the same thing for the feminine. You see it in plants, you see it in human, you see it in other species of animals, you see it in planetary alignment, you see it with everything. That is and the thing is, what you learn is it's a balance. Feminine energy and masculine energy balance one another. And that's why it's important to have masculine energy and feminine energy in the home. Why? Because they both serve a purpose and they create a balance that provides a stable, get this, stable situation in which you can create a family. And that happens not just in the family environment, not just in marriage, but that also happens in every other thing. Feminine energy and masculine energy doesn't just present itself in gender, it also presents itself in behavior, in energy and balance, and so many other ways. And you have to find a way to balance things. And so when you understand that, you stop pushing against things, you stop fighting against things, and you learn to find the balance of things. Now, let's talk about probably the most popular law. Those are the 7 universal laws. Well, let's talk about the most popular and most misunderstood law, the law of attraction. And you're probably going, why isn't the law of attraction in that? Because the law of attraction is represented by running through all 7 of the universal laws. When you look at the law of attraction is about vibrational energy. It's about understanding mentalism, how you think. It's about the law of correspondence. In other words, how am I moving on that? It's about the law of polarity, law of cause and effect. In other words, it's the totality of the universal laws being understood and being acted upon in a way that produces a desired result. Now, I'm going to leave you with this disclaimer. There we go. The disclaimer is this. The law of attraction and any of these other laws are not magic. They're not mystical. They are laws created by a divine power that causes everything to operate in a specific. And I'll give you a prime example. There is a verse, a scripture, and it's a common theme within the Christian community that God is no respecter of persons. And that is actually carried out through the integrity of God in the design of the universe, meaning that anybody who practices using these universal laws to benefit themselves will benefit. There is no respect of person in that. It's not going to be, well, okay, you got to be this in order to get that, or you got to come from this family in order to have that. That's no, in other words, if I make up in my mind that I'm going to shift my thinking, that I'm going to shift my behavior, that I'm going to shift my focus, that I'm going to hold myself accountable, that I'm going to act based off of these laws, and I'm going to use these laws to govern my life and create an environment, it doesn't exempt me from disappointment. It doesn't exempt me from heartache. It doesn't exempt me from loss. What it does, it says that at the end of the day, I'm going to be a winner because I'm going to be in alignment. And the thing is, I'm human. As much as I've studied, as much as I've known, as much as I've benefited from it, there are some times you get caught up in something and it hits you kind of hard, gets you shaken, you get misdirected, and you start trying to fix it the old way. You start trying to fix it the old way. And it's not until you sit back and say, wait a minute, this isn't how you're going to get it done. And you start to do it, you start to see the shift, you start to see the change, you start to see the confidence that comes with being connected with the mind of God, understanding that there is absolutely no answer that you need, that you don't have access to. But it starts with dropping the old way of thinking and understanding that there's order in this universe. There are over 100 elements, components, and positions that make the earth inhabitable by the species that live on it. If any one of those 100 elements were to shift 1 degree to the left, 1 degree to the right, at any point in time, this entire planet would become uninhabitable and we would all die. And yet for billions of years, here we are. You've got to understand that's order. That's order that's maintained. Now, how you look at it, and that can be evolution and order. For those who are big on the evolution thing, I am a student and understand evolution, but I understand it in the nature of order. It has to be order. It has to know what it's becoming before it becomes it, even at a super subconscious level. And there's so much that to understand that's there. Man, the most beautiful thing I've ever understood about quantum physics was when they began to study the atom. It used to be a belief that the atom was the smallest element or component or piece of matter in the universe. Then they understood that, wait a minute, there's something inside of the atom. And then they developed the technology to open up the atom and study the atom. And you got protons, neutrons, electrons, and they're moving and you're trying to measure them. And you can get the measurement of the speed, but you can't get simultaneous measurements. In other words, if I'm measuring the speed, I cannot get the location. If I measure the location, I can't get the speed, and I can't get the density. But what they found is, after studying it alone, is that it was shifting when they began to measure it. It knew they were about to measure it. Then it got real freaky for them. It was at a point where they were paying attention to it simultaneously. They got, computers and everything hooked up now, so they're watching. It knew when they were thinking about measuring it, and it began to shift and change. They literally got it to where they could see that it knew what they were going to do before they did. It was that good. It's called a zero field, or called the mind of God. In other words, everything around you is inhabited by the mind of God. There's absolutely no separation from God. It's something I say every morning at the end of my meditation, that the mind of God is in me, around me, and that I can call upon it for my slightest need. And then later on, it's in me and around me, and it serves me. And when you understand that, you don't become frenetic and unglued when things don't go your way. When you understand that, you don't become shaken by the vicissitudes of life. When you understand that, there's no bad news that your phone can ring and bring that you cannot manage. Why? Because the mind of God is in you and around you, and that you can call upon it for your slightest need, that it's in you and around you, and it serves you, that it's in you and around you, and that it has to answer to any problem that you face. With that being said, look, I'm gonna get off here. I could talk about this all day, but I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna get some things done. I got some family issues to take care of, and keep my family lifted. We're going through something now, but we will prevail. With that being said, I'm gonna jump off. Look, for those who want the masterclass on starting a digital business, email the address that's in there, CEO@rickwallacephd.link, and I'm going to respond directly to you, tell you what it's about, find out if you want to get started, get things set up and we can get started on that. You can have your business up and running in 3 weeks. I have started businesses online with absolutely no money. And it's up to you. There's so much that can be done. We buy into the narratives written by others that want to benefit off of us. And we always end up enriching others when we have the capacity to enrich ourselves. And we can go on and on about that. I'm not going to get into that. But look, that if you haven't gotten the book, the link is in there. Definitely get the book. I'm excited because I Am is finally, I mean, we totally reshifted the delivery and the approach of I Am. It took some time, but I want this book to be dynamic. I want it to be a climb up from critical mass, and that's a tall order. But it's coming. So look, I appreciate all you guys. You guys have an unbelievable day. I'm going to jump off of here and get to the next challenge of the day. You guys have a great day. Remember, I'm always going to be living my life on full because I insist on dying on E, and I'm challenging you to do the same thing. With that being said, I'm out of here.